welcome. I'm Mike, an engineering manager on the Google Play console. And I'm very happy to be here today to talk to you about a subject that's particularly important to my team and I. And that is enabling success on Android through safe, controlled, effective app releases. We know from yourselves, from our own experience, and the experience of other teams at Google, that releasing new apps and updates is what you might describe as an exciting time. It's the time when all that hard work the whole team has been putting in finally gets into the hands of your users. And that is an incredible feeling. Users are going to be delighted by your new functionality and improved performance. Business metrics are going to go through the roof, and everyone is going to be catching on to that good kind of excitement. In essence, for a good release, we need to delight users with new experiences. We need to maintain and improve those important business metrics. And of course, we need to get that tech right to deliver a stable, high-quality product. Simple, right? But releases, they also present us with some challenges. We need to keep our existing users happy. We need to make sure we're actually improving those key performance indicators. And of course, not introduce performance regressions or bugs. And if we do get this wrong, it can lead to an altogether different kind of excitement. A miscalculated release may result in crashes and bad user experience. And this can have a prompt and measurable impact. We crunched some numbers on the subject, and our data shows users are 26% more likely to give one-star reviews on the days when your app is at its crashiest. For games, this increases to a staggering 52% more one-star ratings. Similarly, in reviews, for reviews given on those crashiest days, users are 38% more likely to mention stability and bugs. And as you might expect, this is not just limited to ratings in the store. Key performance indicators are also affected. Engagement metrics and install numbers also suffer when your app is crashing. On top of all this, let's take a moment to think about the ecosystem in which we're operating here. At more than 2 billion active devices, Android is in fact the largest software and computing platform on the planet. Of course, this presents phenomenal opportunity for scale and reach to influence an incredibly large, diverse set of users. However, it also presents some unique challenges when it comes to software deployment. That incredible diversity in users also comes with unprecedented diversity in device types, with thousands of different makes and models across a variety of different form factors. And so, to have great releases and to keep with that good kind of excitement, we need to listen and validate functionality improvements by collecting feedback from a representative set of engaged, enthusiastic users. We need to measure to make sure we're having the right impact on those key user and business metrics. And we need to optimize that technology by detecting those bugs and stability issues. Not only this, but ideally, we want to do all this as early as possible. The sooner we catch problems, the better, be them bugs, usability issues, or business metric regressions. The sooner we catch problems, the more scalable our processes are, the more effective our teams can be, and the faster we can ship even more great features. And this is where the right tools and release process comes in. For the next part of this session, we'll walk you through the suite of tools that the Google Play console makes available to help you handle this process confidently and effectively. We'll look at deploying your release to increasingly larger audiences and what you can hope to achieve at each phase to reach that ultimate goal of deploying a great new app or update to everybody. And after that, we'll welcome Radha from the Android System Health team to give us a deep dive on the Google app release process. We'll see how teams at Google, big and small, are making great use of these tools to scale their release processes. And so, to begin all that, I'd like to welcome on stage Serge, an engineer on the Play console, to talk to us about the first phase of a release, testing.
Thanks, Mike. First, I'd like to do a show of hands. Who amongst you have published an app in the Play console already? Wow. OK, and please keep your hands up if you also have been using the alpha and beta track for your app. All right, well, you guys are great. I think you'll love this talk. Of course, for those who haven't yet published an app in the Play console, a track is a way to define a group of users to whom you can publish your app. For example, there's the production track, which targets all the over 2 billion users. And then there's the alpha and beta track, which targets a much smaller subset of users. Of course, before you publish your app to the world, testing your app with that small group of users is really important. This is for catching bugs, issues, but also to scale and move faster. Key to this is distributing your test version of your app to a small group of users. This could be either your wider team, product managers, our QA team, or whoever can provide you with early feedback. There's lots of ways to do that. One way would be to simply email APKs to your users. That's quite cumbersome, and actually that puts a lot of burden on their shoulders. While the alpha and beta track can be used for distributing test APKs, we heard from you that actually the alpha and beta track are too slow for that kind of fast, iterative testing. And this is because, as we'll see later, the alpha and beta track are designed for scale testing with potentially millions of users. And the APKs published to those tracks go through processing that can take several hours. To enable fast, iterative testing, we introduced the internal test track. The internal test track is a new track in the Play console that is designed to distribute test versions of your app to a small group of users within your organization. Let me show you how it works. Switching to the computer, here I have my test app that I created for this demo called IO Demo. And I have it here in the Play console. This is the app releases page. And we can see I have the production track, the beta track, the alpha track, and the new internal test track. You can see here I have version 49 already published in a release in this track. Version 49 here. I have one tester for this app, switching to the device. And you can see this. Can you see on the device? Very soon. Yes. So this is my tester's device. And you can see I have this IO demo app in the launcher. When I open it, there's a single activity, and it shows the version code. I'm guessing that your app is a bit more sophisticated. If I go in the Play console, I can see that I don't have any updates. So the version code of my APK on my tester's device is the same one that is in the release that I rolled out in the internal test track. Now, Mike here just told me that actually my app doesn't conform with the official Google I/O branding for the color scheme. So I will go and fix this and quickly distribute an app to my tester. Going back to the computer. So I will go to Android Studio. Here in Android Studio, I have my project already open with my app. I also have installed the Gradle Play Publisher plugin, which is set up so that it automatically publishes to the Play console updates and builds I make of my app. I have a Gradle task here, the publish APK release, and when I invoke it, it automatically pushes to the internal test track a build of my app. So I will create a new version, version 50. And then I will change my color to, what was it again? Right, space pineapple. All right. So what will happen is that when I invoke this Gradle task, it will automatically build the APK and then upload it to the Play console to the internal test track. Once the upload completes, I will start a timer here. I have another device with a timer, and I set the timer to 2 hours. I hope you guys are not in a hurry. This is because this is how long you should expect it to take if I was to publish this APK to the alpha or beta track. Right? Then I will go to the Play Store on my tester's device, and I will check for an update. And as soon as the update is available, I will stop the timer, and we'll see how long it takes. All right. So I start the task. So let's switch to the device, please. So Android Studio is building the APK, and I started to upload it. Of course, I don't usually do this on a Wi-Fi network in a tent shared by 2,000 people, but hopefully it still works. All right, so now the upload has completed. If I go on my tester's device, I start a timer, all right? I check for an update. Oh, my update is here already. So actually, that took less than 5 seconds. So if I update my app, it installs the update. I open it, and I have my new color scheme and with my new version code. This is dramatically faster than publishing to the alpha and beta track, as you can see. Actually, it's quite amazing. I've been advised against doing a live demo on stage at Google I/O with a real device, but you guys deserve it. All right. So we've seen how you can publish to the Play console using a Gradle plugin in Android Studio. But of course, you can also use the Play console UI to do just that. You can set up testers. Sorry. Careful slide. All right. So you can set up testers by specifying a list of email addresses. The testers opt in with a single URL. Then the testers use the Play Store app on the device to install and update your app. It's super simple for testers to set up. It works on any Android device with the Play Store, and there's no special app or permission. It's fast, safe, and simple. Sorry, there's 2 buttons here and 50% chance of missing it. All right. In order to get APKs out quickly, we distribute them to testers before the processing of the APK has completed. So although the publishing of the APKs is instant, the APKs and bundles published to the internal test track are still subject to Play policies. The opt-in for internal testers is also different than from alpha beta. So users can be either alpha beta testers or internal testers. There's also a cap of 100 testers in the internal test track per app. The new internal test track is supported by the Play Console Publisher API and by many Play Console Publisher plugins. So that means that you can automate publishing to the internal test track very easily from your existing tool chains and workflows. You can get up and running with very little change. The internal test track is great for quick iteration during development, for catching bugs early, for getting fast feedback from your team, and also for testing Play integration. Because your app is published through Play, it supports all the Play features. LVL testing, in-app purchases, and most importantly, the new Android app bundle and dynamic delivery features. So if you're thinking of trying out those features, the internal test track is a great way to do that. Once you have your app tested internally with the internal test track, you're ready for real user. Although typically, you're not yet ready to open up to everyone. You might be looking for trusted feedback on maybe a confidential set of features. Closed testing allows you to scale up your testing while maintaining control of who can get your app. The alpha and beta track have been supporting closed testing for some time now. But we heard feedback that as your app scales, the alpha and beta track don't scale well with various testing scenarios. What if, for example, you would like to test your app with a track for each feature branch? Or what if you would like to create a new track for new events or milestones? Well, I'm delighted to announce that now you can create new additional closed testing tracks enabling all those scenarios. You now have one production track, one open testing track, any number of closed testing tracks, and an internal test track. When you want to create an additional closed testing track, you can just click on the button, create closed track, choose any name you want. And that name is also used in the API. From our early adopters, we have seen that this is great for user studies, country-specific variants, per-team feature branches, and testing in incrementally larger groups. And just scratching the surface of how those new tracks can be used. For those who have been using the alpha and beta track, you may have heard of pre-launch report. It takes APKs that you publish to the Play console and install them on 10 different unique devices in the test farms. It runs your app for 5 minutes at a time with Robo for nearly an hour of testing in total. It shows crash reports, performance issues, and security vulnerabilities. Pre-launch report also added new ways to control the crawl, like Robo scripts and demo loop for games. They are announcing exciting new features. Go see their awesome talk tomorrow at 9:30. Be sure to set an alarm for that. Or if you're like me and you still wake up on a different time zone, you'll be set. As we've seen, closed testing is great for when you want to test your app with a set of trusted testers. But typically, the problem with those users is that they're not very representative of production users. Obviously, production users have a wider set of devices, but they might not be as motivated as trusted testers and might engage with a different set of features than your app. When you want to have broad coverage of your code, find technical issues, or get more relevant business metrics, you can use open testing. Releasing to open testing allow any user to discover and join your testing community directly from the Google Play Store app on their device. And these users can provide you private feedback that you can review in the Play console. And those feedbacks won't affect your public ratings. This is a great way to scale up and to make sure that the new version of your app provides a great experience to users before you launch it to the world. If you need to, you can also set a cap on the number of testers or of users that join that testing program to keep things manageable. Of course, open testing is only as valuable as users are willing to participate. Today, there are over 230 million users who already opted in open test, with 2.5 million users opting in each week. So it's really up to you to put it to good use. Late last year, we also introduced the new country targeting for testing tracks. With country targeting testing, you can now control the country availability for each track individually. This can be used for both open and closed testing, and allows you to run a test in a different set of countries to those in which a production app is live. We have seen some of the features Play provides to help you test your app. It's time to go to the next step in the release process. And for that, I'm going to hand it over to Nick, another engineer on the Play console, who will talk to you about rollouts.
Awesome. Thanks, Serge. So, you've tested internally, then in closed groups, and finally, using open testing. You've polished the user experience, optimized those business metrics, and ironed out those bugs and performance issues. You're confident this new release has it all. The only thing left to do is roll it out to the public. Last I/O, we unveiled a new guided release flow for managing your release. Thank you for all the feedback you provided. Based on this input, we have further streamlined the process, making it faster to provide translated release notes and enhancing the APK upload process so you can drag and drop all your APKs into your release in a single step. We have also introduced support for instant apps, instant games, Actions on Android, and the new Android App Bundle. In preparation for the new Android App Bundle, we've introduced a new UI to help you understand the contents of your APK or bundle. Even if you aren't using Android App Bundle, this provides useful insights into the sizes of your APKs. Keeping your APKs as small as possible means users can download and install faster and have more free space left for their photos and music. On average, apps will see a 20% size reduction by using Android App Bundle, and the Bundle Explorer can show you exactly the size saving you can achieve for your app. We recommend all developers use staged rollouts when rolling out to production. Staged rollouts allow you to control the percentage of users eligible to update and gradually increase this as your confidence in the release grows. In the unlikely event that something goes wrong, you can also halt the release while only a small percentage of users are affected. We're really happy to see that since introducing the new guided release flow, twice as many of you are making use of staged rollouts. Following on from this, we have extended staged rollouts with the new country-targeted rollout option. This allows you to roll out per country in addition to by percentage. This is really useful to start your release in a market that you have a deep understanding of, making it easier to understand your business metrics as the rollout progresses. Once your release is rolling out, you can use the release dashboard in the Play console to monitor key metrics such as update rates and app ratings, as well as crashes and ANRs. These metrics help you evaluate your release and ensure it remains healthy as you proceed with the rollout. The statistics view now shows release events, making it even easier to understand the impact of a rollout. For a more detailed view, you can use the Vitals page to check metrics like battery usage, jank, wake clock usage, and others. While we've introduced many exciting new features for releasing your app through the Play console, we know that many of you automate your APK deployment with continuous integration systems or using Gradle plugins, as Serge did earlier. So we've updated the publishing API, and from today, you can use these features in your automated workflows. Rolling out a release via the API now uses the same release model you're familiar with from the Play console. This allows you to name your release and more easily modify release notes. In addition, we've relaxed the constraints on what you can roll out via the API to match the Play console. The new testing tracks Serge mentioned earlier are, of course, also now supported by the API. This is great for configuring your continuous integration system to push to your internal test track whenever you have a new build ready for QA. The new release model also unlocks some features that were previously only available via the Play console. For instance, it's now possible to halt a release using the publishing API. This allows you to fully automate your release process, including automatically responding to problems. We've heard from many of you that while you are comfortable rolling out test builds via the API, you like the control of coming to the console when rolling out to production. So, with the updated API, we've added the ability to create and manage draft releases via the API. This means you can stage a draft release from your continuous integration system and then have your product manager log in, check everything looks good, and hit confirm and roll out. You can find the full details of the new API changes and the associated client libraries on our developer pages and GitHub. To round this session off, I would like to welcome Radha to the stage to tell us about how the tools we have looked at are put to use at Google.
Which way is... Hi, everyone. My name is Radha, and I run product operations for Android System Health. My team is responsible for making sure that all of Google's Android developers can build excellent apps quickly. I'm here to talk to you about some of the lessons we've learned in working with Google's many app developer teams, how we use some of the tools you've heard about today, and why we love them. Google has many Android apps. Some of them you may have heard about, like Gmail, Maps, YouTube, or Search, which serve billions of users. But we actually have over 150 apps, many of which are just starting out and have a few hundred or a few thousand users. Some of these apps have small developer teams, up to 10 people total, while others have hundreds or even thousands of Googlers working on them. In this room as well, there's probably a similar diversity in terms of how big teams are and how many users you serve. Smaller apps are looking for ways to scale rapidly to a growing user base, and larger apps are looking for ways to innovate safely and quickly. In working with Google's teams, we found that even this vast range of apps have a few things in common. Each of these apps is constantly evolving. Each is looking to add new and exciting features and adapt quickly to user feedback. And they would all rather avoid that bad update and all of the implications that we heard about earlier. What I'll be walking through today is how we've come to align on some common tools and best practices that scale from the smallest to the largest apps. So if we go back to our key points on releases, we need to make sure that we can listen to our users and the feedback they give us. We need to make sure we can maintain, validate, and improve the key user and business metrics. And we need to optimize the technology to avoid bugs and performance issues, and to support the incredible diversity of users and devices out there. How do we map this to Google? And how do we scale? And as teams grow in size and ambition, how do we continue to achieve good release attributes while still moving quickly? Well, we've developed some rules of the road for how we can do testing and app updates. Using the tools we've heard about today, we've developed a few strategies to create a consistent process that scales even to the deployment of our largest apps. I'll be going over some of the strategies that Google app developers are taking advantage of to test out new features and to release the next versions of their apps. First, let's take a look at testing. We used to test by always putting the raw, most bleeding edge features into our alpha track. This ensured that the team could stay in tune with each other and with the latest and greatest as we made progress. Unfortunately, as the team grew, this led to an issue that we called, "You did what to my VP demo?" Teams need to be able to move quickly, to experiment, and to occasionally break stuff. But product managers need fresh, at most a day old, stable builds to show off the latest features to executives and other stakeholders. We might need a stable binary, let's say to do an I/O demo, that has a lot of the new features. With more testing tracks, we're now able to give individual teams their own builds, where they can experiment independently of each other and independently of the release process. They can deploy daily or even hourly if they wish to share the latest features among themselves. We can also set the country availability of the testing tracks to global to allow Googlers in any country to test our apps, even if the released product is not yet available globally. More tracks also allow us to have a more thorough testing process at release time. Thanks to individual team tracks, new features have already been tested independently even before we cut our release. Once we're ready to release, we promote our build through multiple stages of testing, starting with a team-wide test of tens of people, to a Google-wide test with thousands of users, and then a public open beta with potentially millions of test users. Our open betas allow external users to try our latest and greatest features if they're willing to give us private feedback on if they find they like it or if they find the ride is a little bumpy. At first, we imagined that we might have a hard time getting users to sign up for this, but users can join direct from the store listing in the Play Store app, and some of our apps now have millions of users in their open betas. With additional testing tracks at our disposal, more and more Google apps are setting up an open beta. This quote shows how the Google Search app is benefiting from the open beta program. It also highlights that testing is not just about mitigating the risk of bugs and crashes, but it's also a chance to get feedback on features and to ensure that the new features have the right impact on key performance indicators. You might be wondering what we get from all of these various stages of testing. Why not just go straight to open beta? Well, we might want to test out some confidential new features before they're visible to external users. Why do we have both a team-wide test and a Google-wide test? At Google, we have a tradition of dog-fooding our own products, and we'd rather not break Gmail for all Googlers in our tests. So why do we still need the open beta if we have so many Googlers testing? Well, it's because even if a Google-wide test can reach thousands of users, by and large, these users tend to have a somewhat narrow set of Android devices. An open beta gives us much more scale and a device set that is much more representative of our production users. So that's testing. We've validated our features and our app update. Let's move on to talk about how we actually roll out these updates and features to users. A staged rollout is critically important to Google Teams. Rather than updating 2 billion devices in one go, we always start small and ramp up incrementally, keeping a close eye on business, user, and crash metrics. At the first sign of any issues, we can always halt a release. But how do we actually manage these releases? One method we tried for managing an app release was to wait until all the features scheduled for that release were ready, then cut and roll out the release. This worked great at first, but unfortunately, features sometimes, just sometimes, hit a snag, causing delays to all the other features scheduled for the release. Soon the May release becomes the June release, and now you're pulling more and more features into that single release. More features means more testing, more bugs, more release candidates, more changes that make it hard to track down exactly what caused any particular bug or performance regression. And since the next release might be a while away, developers scramble to get their features on board the release train. And then, in the meantime, you discover you need to ship an urgent bug fix that just can't wait. And as you can see, as the team scales, this tends to spiral. Waiting for all features to be ready slows down innovation and adds a lot of risk to the app release. We found that, counterintuitively, faster is safer. Keeping a continuous and predictable release train makes each release smaller, safer, and easier to manage. Those urgent bug fixes can be sure to go out on time. And interestingly, knowing that the next release is only a few weeks away, developers tend to avoid cramming their almost but not quite finished features into a given release. So this is a great philosophy. But how does it work in practice? How do we keep the trains running on time? And how do we ensure that new features don't go live before they're ready? To get features out safely in an app release, we use a technique called flag-guarded feature development. Whenever possible, we try to avoid shipping new features directly with an app update. We put each feature behind a flag that can be toggled on and off from the server. First, we use the staged rollout to release the app update with all the flags turned off. By first deploying such a change-neutral binary, it's easier and safer to get this update to all 100% of our users. This also allows us to evaluate the application binary itself for things like stability and system health as it installs on the user's device, separately from the feature and how the feature is doing. Once this change-neutral app update is safely deployed, we can then slowly enable each feature by turning on the flags. Again, carefully keeping an eye on all of those important user, business, and crash metrics to detect any issues. If we find an issue, we always have the option to disable the feature by turning off the flag. Importantly, keeping these features behind flags and first deploying a change-neutral binary means that any issue with one feature won't adversely affect all the other features in the app update. I like to think of this as satellite deployment, not that I've ever actually deployed a satellite, but step one is to get the thing into orbit. Once it's safely in orbit, then you can unpack each instrument one by one. You can achieve this in your own app using Firebase Remote Config. The Google Search app is one of many Google teams that have scaled their release process and their feature launches using flag-guarded development. So you might be wondering how long releases take if we're going through each of these stages of testing and ramp up. Because the release train stays predictable, we're usually able to deliver most app updates to users within a couple of weeks, while having the ability to speed up a release if absolutely necessary. For the larger apps, the ones that have more than 1 billion users, we're able to collect enough data to have confidence in our releases within a couple of days. These release best practices help us keep each of our 150-plus apps at Google high quality without ever putting the brakes on how fast we can innovate and bring fresh and exciting features to our billions of users worldwide. So that was a tour through the Google release process. I hope you found this useful and that there's some ideas that you can put to use in your own release process. And I'd like to welcome Mike back on stage to close things off.
Thanks, Radha. So to recap, we've seen why releasing is an exciting time and how we like to think about what constitutes a great release. A release that delights users, improves business metrics, and is stable and performant. After this, we took a look through the suite of tools that the Google Play Console makes available to help you achieve efficient, well-understood, risk-free app releases. We looked at the new internal testing track for fast, iterative testing with your team and testers. We looked at closed testing, where you, the developer, get to control exactly who can test your app. We've seen how Google Play is going beyond alpha beta with additional closed testing tracks. And of course, open testing, where any user can opt in to test your app direct from the Google Play Store. We've seen how this can bring huge scale to your testing. We also looked at rolling out your releases with improvements to the Releases UI, improvements to stage rollout, and the new improved publishing API for more automation of your release using Gradle and continuous integration tools. And we took a whirlwind tour through Google's approach to creating a consistent release process that scales from the smallest to the largest teams. We hope you found this talk useful. Please do give these tools a go and let us know what you think. We look forward to hearing your feedback as you use these tools more and more. If you'd like to share your experiences, or you have thoughts or ideas on how we could make these tools even better, please do come and see us in the Android and Play sandbox in Dome C. Thank you.